Hey everyone, welcome to the Industry Show. I'm your host Nitin Bajaj, and joining me today is Anil Puri. Anil, welcome on the show.
Thank you, Nathan. My pleasure to be here.
Pleasure is all ours. So let's get started with who is Anil.
Before I get to that, let me just say something. Tiro, a colleague of Cicero, said that all we have left to ourselves is what is written down. Let me paraphrase that to say that all we have left of us is what is videotaped. So I appreciate you doing this and leaving this store of knowledge for people to look at and view it. Anyway, coming to myself, see myself in two roles. One is an academic leader. I've been dean of the business school at Cal State Fullerton for 18 years and served as provost of the university. Now, academic leadership is usually considered a backwater for leadership in the business world. But I have a strong appreciation for business. I grew up in a business family. I was dean of the business school. The challenges of academic leadership are no less severe, no less daunting than in the business world. Sometimes more so because we are dealing with in a public higher education, an entrenched faculty with the loss of union rights, with constrained budgets, and goals that are quite ambitious.
Yes.
So I've enjoyed my years, and we'll talk more about what I try to do. But that's one of the roles. The second role I have is that of an economist, an economic forecaster. For the last 28 years or so, I've been producing economic forecasts for the university and presenting them to large audiences. Started with a few hundred students in a classroom, and today we get 700 to 800 students, public and private leaders.
Wow.
And we do it with Orange County Business Council. So it's a thrill every year to prepare those forecasts and share that information and have that discussion and conversation. Other than that, on a personal level, I'm a struggling golfer, but
Who
which
is
golfer
it?
is it, right? I came from India in the 70s and for my graduate school. I just stayed here, got married, have family, grandchildren now. And in this wonderful country of ours, with all its contradictions and opportunities, I wouldn't be anywhere else.
So true and so very well said. And I would love to, and our audience would love to hear a little more about what you did at Cal State Fullerton, and you continue to do that even today. And you mentioned the economic forecast. If you can hint at, this past year especially has been just out of nowhere. So
Right,
would
right,
love to hear a little more about how things have tracked over the past 28 years, and then specifically at Cal State Fullerton.
right. Let me begin with Cal State Fullerton and my role there as dean and provost, and then I'll talk about the forecast. As I mentioned, I was the longest serving business school dean, and I thoroughly enjoyed that tenure. Not because we do some wonderful things. We started with a college that was rather demoralized. We are a public university, and faculty and staff and everybody else felt we are not as good as, say, UCI. We are
Mhm.
not as rich as Chapman. We're just one of the Cal State systems. That was the attitude when I took over. So I set it upon myself to change that view, to change that perception, to change that mindset. Because unless you have a mindset that
Mhm.
wants to grow and achieve, no matter what you do, that's not going to happen. So, we building a building, $90 million building, which is an iconic building on campus now as home of the college, or raising, $50 million, the biggest endowment, and making the college the fourth largest and the biggest in the state. Those are good, all good. But what I'm most proud of, in a way, something more ephemeral, which is changing that perception of the faculty
Mm-hmm.
and creating a new vision for a self-perception of who we are. And that started by looking at what is the purpose of Cal State Fullerton Business School? What is the essential purpose? And how are we unique compared to other institutions, and what can we be proud of? Given where we are in Orange County, the diversity, our location here, and open-mindedness, open discussion that is provided by a public university, a large public university at that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whose mission is to transform lives of their students. A lot of them are first generation and not very well off.
Yes.
Now, combining all that gives us a unique uh, point of view, a perspective, and a position, because no place in the country has this location,
Mm-hmm.
this kind of diversity, not only of language and food, but backgrounds, and we people have immigrants and locals as well, and focus on applied teaching, learning that will prepare them, be ready to work
Mm-hmm.
and ready to lead.
Yes.
That was the model that we set. Now, lots of time these are ideas that are discussed and put on the shelves, and which we did. We did write those ideas down. It was an intellectual challenge to come up with a mission statement and a full-fledged branding. But then to have the faculty buy-in, to have the students buy-in, to the staff buy-in, and then our stakeholders, the business partners, believe in that vision. That took some time, several years actually. But I'm so glad that we did that, we accomplished that, and the result was, the building and endowment and everything else. And that is continuing to set the basis for strategic planning for the college, creating new programs, and all the other initiatives that the college is doing that. I try to continue to do that at the provost level. It's a different landscape at the provost level. But looking at it from the university's point of view, I think the university is following very similar path to better high recognition. So that was wonderful. As I'm still part of the college, I'm leading what is called the Wood Center,
Mm-hmm.
which is the Economic Analysis and Forecasting Center. And as we talked, I've been doing it for some time, and we are in exciting time. It seems like every year is exciting, at least from my point of view, because to me, the bridge between present
Mm-hmm.
and the future,
Yes.
where they meet, the closest bridge, that is the most exciting part.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you do there, what you anticipate, what you analyze, and what you project has practical value.
Right.
You're going to make those decisions today, not fully knowing what is going to happen in the future, but you have to make those decisions. So my role as an economist and my attitude in general is always thinking about what is next,
Mm-hmm.
not where the puck is today, as Wayne Gretzky said, but where it's going to be.
It's going to be.
And can you figure that out? Sometimes we're right, sometimes we're not. We're right quite often luckily, in terms of forecasting. But that is a constant passion of mine, and that's what excites me, and I continue to do that.
Yeah, I was thinking, as you said, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're not. If you were right all the time, or if you were wrong all the time, it would take the thrill away, right?
That's true too.
This way you get to define the edge and live on it.
As you know, I think future is hard to predict.
Yes. So tell us about some of the challenges, either the ones you faced in your journey as you made this paradigm shift and you changed attitudes and minds, or even that something that you continue to face today as you're doing the forecasting as the provost of the university.
Yeah. Let me put it this way, that entrepreneurship in public higher education,
Mm-hmm.
public means the state supported or state owned in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bureaucratic institution.
Right.
I find that the challenges of entrepreneurship in the context of a public higher education is the biggest challenge that I have faced. How do you do things that are uh, risky?
Mm-hmm.
Entrepreneurship, by its very definition, is risky, new and innovative. Though it's built on but it has to be built on what you currently have.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but be able to see the future markets or use of what you do. The state system imposes a lot of restrictions on what you can do and how you can raise money and use money to
Mm-hmm.
accomplish those goals. So that's a continuing challenge, I think, for public institutions. The problem with that attitude, with that kind of setup, is that today's world is moving so fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only the pandemic, which
Right.
really has turned things upside down. Even before that, challenge for higher education have been mounting.
Mm-hmm.
The traditional higher education, as I said, is full of endowed professors,
Mm-hmm.
tenured professors, and unionization in a lot of ways. So how do you accept that? Because that's not going to change. I can't change it, and I don't know that the current system would allow it to change. But within that, how do you come up with creative ideas, innovative ideas that are forward-looking, that will, first of all, provide our students the information, the knowledge, the skill that they are going to need tomorrow in tomorrow's world, and also embolden our faculty to undertake those initiatives. The university to commit to resources,
Mm-hmm.
supporting those resources. This is a continuous, ongoing challenge.
Right.
And I think, as I mentioned earlier, that when it came to business school, we started out with a poor attitude and few resources. Uh, and the only way I could see to change that was to find resources, uh, create a new mindset of innovation and entrepreneurship, and come up with ideas that I think are going to succeed. And so branding and thinking of what our vision is, what our self-perception is, working on that, emphasizing that, building our stakeholders from business community to support that, to have them buy in our vision that we are capable of delivering the top quality education enriched with diversity and applied knowledge. We were able to accomplish that through the creation of a number of new centers.
Mm-hmm.
Center for Leadership, Center for Family Business, Entrepreneurship Center, Wood Center, as I mentioned. There are about 14 different centers now in the college. And I'm happy to say that, I helped create at least half of them with the center that we already had. But they provide the bridge for the business community, and along with the boards. We had a dean advisory board that we created of top leaders, CEOs and chairmen, and managing partners of accounting firms. Altogether, that led us, improved our capability in financial terms, along with the state's help to create this huge 200,000 square foot building that is really a state-of-the-art building. And moving in that building from 5 different locations, the college faculty and students were just so excited. It was a different world. It was their world.
Mm-hmm.
They owned it, and that provided them with a sense of accomplishment and
Mm-hmm.
ownership. And then coupled with that, the vision that we can be number one in what we do, believing in that vision, I think was a transformative experience for me and the college, and it's continuing that story.
I can imagine the strength of one, that mindset itself, right? But then also that energy that comes with that sense of accomplishment, and that we can do it, it's possible. And yes, it's going to be challenging, there's going to be bumps on the road, but we can do it. So, I think you had mentioned it the last time we spoke, that it may not seem like the wheels are turning initially, but
Right.
there's a lot of work that's going on beneath the surface.
Absolutely. You know, people are busy with their day-to-day life. Faculty are busy preparing lessons, dealing with student issues, and so on. Staff is busy with their, getting the place running. So somebody has to come up with a look above
Hmm.
day-to-day routine. And not only that, you have to, once people have this feeling that they're working for an exciting, bigger cause, bigger than what their day-to-day job is, this is not just their individual job, they're part of a bigger enterprise.
Hmm.
That's what brings excitement. That's what brings, I think, creativity, the satisfaction and excitement of what you do. So both in my role as provost and dean, and now as I help navigate the university and the college and help prepare our young leaders, I continue to believe in that having a vision as to where you want to go, and it being part of more than just your personal
Hmm.
job for which you get paid.
Right.
But if you see this as a part of a bigger whole, that provides not only more satisfaction, but also higher achievement, your personal achievement as well.
So true. You talked about the challenges. I'm curious to hear the opportunities, right? With so many young minds that you continue to shape, and with the resources you have built over the years, what is the one big opportunity you're targeting?
At the moment, pandemic has highlighted the need for a completely different way of
Hmm.
providing instruction, education. Zoom meetings and have taken the place of uh, in-person classrooms. And I don't think it's going to go away, and I don't think it should go away.
Right.
I think the faculty and the university needs to raise the level of the quality of that, which means students need to feel that they are getting as good an education on an online system as face-to-face. We have a lot of work to do in addition to what we've already done in this one short year.
Hmm.
But the difference is that faculty who they were adamantly opposed to using anything to do with online instruction. They were forced into doing that. There was no alternative to that.
Yes.
And they have come to appreciate that. They are all on board. So a very heavy lift has already taken place.
Yes.
The challenge for the university now and the opportunity for us is to take advantage of that,
Hmm.
move up
Right.
and create new opportunities, create new ways of delivering instruction, preparing our students for today's world. And today's world has changed. The students today need a lot more of quantitative, data-oriented
Mhm.
information. In their thinking, they need to think of much broader issues thrown
Right.
up by revolution, not only in data and technology, but in biology and medicine,
Yes.
in global health and global climate change.
Hmm.
Every generation has their challenges. Our generation's challenges are more global than they have been in the past.
Yes.
Everything that we do, whether it's to plastics
Hmm.
or whether it's global warming, and whether it's geopolitical issues,
True.
China rising
Hmm.
and U.S. feeling that they're being left behind, or they feel competitive pull.
Hmm.
So these are huge challenges for us. And higher educational institution, have always been at the forefront of thinking about it, providing ideas, and then providing means to get there, to meet the new challenges. So if anything, I think there's a much greater need today than it has been in a long, long time to energize educational institution all the way from kindergarten.
True.
I think early child education, and people are coming to realize that, is uh, 10 times or 20 times more valuable than money spent fixing teenagers' problems.
Hmm.
You should get them in the first 3 to 5 years. You
Yes.
won't have those problems when they're teenagers. So we have to invest both at the front end and the top end where university research takes place, and people, skills, job related skills are taught. I think we need to have a much greater emphasis and focus on what it is that we should be doing, not just throwing money at it
Right.
and hoping that everything will come up roses. There was a time that happened in the 60s somehow when we won the race to moon and back and other. Right now, I think it has to be more deliberative. It's full of more moral issues about life, human life, value of human life, value of environment. And so our students need to think in those terms rather than working in tool factory.
Right. It's in a lot of ways you're thinking holistically at a macro level, but then also be very focused and mindful of your surroundings, what can and should impact your neighborhoods.
Absolutely. As I said, it sounds like a more abstract idea, but I think you have to start there
Yes.
with a global outlook, with a much broader landscape to paint on. And our students need to see that. Unfortunately, what we see in our politics is such a sharp divide and such negativity to intellectual discussion of the value of science and knowledge and thinking that it makes it more of a challenge. It's the reality of our lives today. And the only way out of that, I'm afraid, is through education, patience, and it's going to take time. It's going to take tens of years, maybe a generation or two, before we get over this negativity that we're feeling today, that has been, made part of our lives today. But there is no easy, quick way, I'm afraid, of changing that, except one person at a time, one child at a time, and one adult at a time.
It's a healing process, right? And with any kind of healing, it takes time and effort to keep nurturing those wounds and keep building on the right track. And you talked about the successes. I'm curious to hear along this journey, as a leader, as a team, if there were certain instances or maybe one that stands out that was more of a lesson learned, things that you had hoped and expected would work a certain way but didn't turn out that way and you had to change course.
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of instances where I wasn't successful in doing what I wanted to do. In terms of the university setting, at the provost level, I try to get the faculty to do what they're doing today because of pandemic, which is change the learning technologies, make more use of technology. I, in fact, was the first faculty member in the university to teach an online course quite some time ago. So I knew the potential of that.
Right.
But when I tried to do that, there was such resistance to it from a minority of faculty, but a sizable minority, that I was successful only partially, and only in the business school, but not the university as a whole, to do that. In retrospect, if they had listened to me, had I been successful, we'll be far along on that path than we are today.
So true. Well, but then, it ended out that as an economist and someone who constantly predicts future, you were right. So I'm not surprised about that.
But all you can do is try your best.
Yes.
And if it doesn't pan out, well, you did your best. That's all you can do. No regrets.
So true. And with that philosophical thought, I want to switch gears and talk about you. And the way we do that is through a series of one-line life lessons. So I'm going to invite you to share a few of your one-line life lessons with us.
Yeah, I know you're going to ask me that. Well, one lesson sort of that comes to my mind is that you should let life change you.
Hmm.
Otherwise, it's a wasted life. Life experiences, learning from day-to-day activity, learning from people that you come across with, failures and successes.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to change. It's okay to learn and grow because that's what life is about. If you had a rigid attitude, if you're not resilient, then it's just a waste of time. So I always believed in being flexible, adapting, looking for new things, and changing as much as I can.
That's beautiful. It's kind of reminds me of another one, that let life be a teacher.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
that's the best teacher you have, and you have to make an effort really to change yourself. As we get older, I think it's much harder mentally to change our attitudes and our behavior. And it's a constant battle, lifelong, never ends.
So true.
Because life is always changing. There's always something new.
Yes.
The second phrase I will use is that persistence and hard work
Mm-hmm.
will always lead to success. One can be very smart, one can be very lucky, and you may have successes here and there. But when you work at it hard and for a long time, it may take some time, you're going to succeed.
True.
There's no alternative to that in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Third phrase I already used, I told you that, which is that your best is all you can do.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
No regrets.
Yes.
Don't look back. Don't say, "Oh, I wish I had done that,"
Mm-hmm.
or say somebody else did better than you did. Well, I did the best I could under those circumstances,
Right.
and that's the best I could do.
Yep.
No
You gave
questions.
it your all, right?
You
So
gave
you,
it your
you don't
all.
have any regrets. Yep.
No regrets. You shouldn't have any regrets.
Yes.
And another thing that, again, I mentioned is go for a cause that is bigger than you,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
because I think that brings out the best in you. Not only compassion, but your own creativity and the satisfaction you get from accomplishing that, because it's not just for you, it's for a bigger cause.
Mm-hmm.
And you are being part of that. It lasts beyond you
True.
and helps other people. So I found that has always provided meaning, a lot more meaning to me than what I do for myself.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of the separating the selfish from the impact that you create, the giving back, the community aspect, or just even being part of a team or a group.
Absolutely. It is hard to fathom sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and to find find a cause to which you can commit to.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be today, but I think if you have that in mind, then you'll find opportunities to do that. And the last one I would say is about leadership. I think empowering others around a vision is what makes a leader.
I love
You
that.
always are standing on the shoulder of others and support
Yeah.
of others.
Yes.
Very few accomplishments worth their salt are individual accomplishments.
Mm-hmm.
No, even if you're learning, a sport,
Right.
people feel, oh, I did this. You forget all the coaches, all the family members, all the friends, everything in your life that led you to that point. So don't never forget that all accomplishments are result of a much bigger base.
Yes.
And as a leader, empowering your people that you work with, people that you come in contact with, letting them buy into the vision. That is your role as a leader, not say, oh, I did this.
As a sidetrack, it just as you mentioned it came to me. I've always had a challenge with organizations and enterprises defining roles as individual contributors.
Right.
And just because of this reason, it hasn't ever made sense to me.
As an economist, I can tell you that we economists use the idea of productivity.
Yes.
And in business settings, people reward you, you get bonuses from how you accomplish your goals.
Yes.
And they forget that the goals that you accomplished were the result of a team effort.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think our reward structure is screwed.
A little messed up.
Yeah, messed up. The challenge is to provide individual incentives to do their best,
Yes.
but also recognize that after all is said and done, that what is accomplished is the result of many doing that work.
Yes.
So individual entrepreneurship, creativity, ideas, ultimately, there are very few group ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Most ideas arise in the mind of an individual. Almost all ideas, actually.
Yes.
But then how to move that idea forward, often, more than often, is the result of a team.
Right.
And so I think as a society, we need to keep that spirit of entrepreneurship, of creativity, but be sobered by the fact that to accomplish those achievements, to have those achievements, it took a team. Business people fall into the trap all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Business CEOs say, oh, look, my company accomplished this and that. They forget that there's an ecosystem
Mm-hmm.
that the company operates in.
Yes.
There are laws and regulations, there are their company, their suppliers, their workers, and they're selling to their customers. All of that is led to their success. Without the infrastructure, for example, that society provides, both physical and,
Yeah.
and otherwise, if that's the environment that businesses are working in, they're taking advantage of
Yes.
healthy society who
Yes.
has Medicare or medical or health insurance.
True.
Is very much part of the success of a business. Working roads and bridges, having a clean environment and clean water, and good, well-educated workforce. That didn't come out of nothing.
Yes.
And they are very much a part of why a business, why an individual is successful.
So true. And
Forget that.
very, very thoughtful, considering what we are going through as a nation, as a global economy, that, uh, we can't afford to lose sight that we are all part of this bigger ecosystem, and all our actions, all our thoughts multiply and compound either for the good or for the bad.
Absolutely. Yeah, but at the same time, as an economist, let me tell you, I'm very hard-nosed about how you spend resources
Yes.
and how you incentivize individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Because you cannot forget that. You cannot be just goody-goody. I'm not a tree hugger.
Yes.
So you have to recognize the individual nature,
Mm-hmm.
how people respond to incentives, what is it that motivates them, and support that. That is not always with money.
True.
with monetary incentives help, that it's creating a system where people want to do, want to come up with new things and new ideas, and excited about innovation, excited about the future, making things better, without being so self-centered that they resent paying their fair taxes.
Yes. It's so true. Anil, on that positive note, on that note of looking forward to good things, uh, really thank you for taking the time. I really enjoyed, I learned a lot, and I'm sure so will our audience. We would we would love to bring you back on the show and maybe give us a sneak peek into your next yearly economic forecast on the show. And thank you once again for taking the time. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Enjoyed it.